Ay, Nicaragua, Nicaragüita, recibe como prenda de amor este ramo de siempre vivas y gilinjoches que hoy florecen para vos. Cuando yo beso tu frente pura, beso las perlas de tu sudor, más dulcita que la frutita del pigüilote y el jocote tronador. De Pijibaí, mi pasión se enterró en el surco de tu querencia, como un granito de maíz.
Nearly a decade ago, Karen and Stephen Small from South Haven, Michigan, formed a special connection with the people of the Quilali area of Nicaragua. Karen, a recently retired nurse midwife, and Stephen, a Methodist minister in Southwest Michigan, recognized the unfulfilled basic human needs of the 30,000 people in the Quilali area. They formed the organization Mano a Mano para la Salud, Hand in Hand for Health, to encompass their efforts in the Quilali area, and they established Quilali as the sister city of South Haven, with Sister Cities International. They maintain a home in South Haven, but whenever possible, for as long as possible, they take up residence in the home they bought in Quilali and reacquaint themselves with their friends and check on the progress of their projects. Whenever possible, they share their home and their experience with a group of individuals from Michigan, often students from area universities, not only to broaden their experience, but also to inspire them to involve themselves in the needs of the people. In the rugged hills of north-central Nicaragua is a visit to time before machines, with little widespread electricity, no modern water nor sewer systems. Some inhabitants have cell phones, access to the internet, televisions with 3 channels, dirt bikes, overloaded school buses, 4-wheel drive trucks, Coca-Cola, and Snicker bars. However, they rely more upon sturdy human backs, horses, mules, oxen, chickens, pigs, cows, barking dogs, and the ubiquitous machete. A few may cook over a butane flame, but most cook over the flames from wood burning beneath an earthen stovetop. There are few reliably paved roads and many rutted, eroded, wet dirt roads. Absent are running water, flush toilets, consistent electricity, washers, dryers, dishwashers, and air conditioners. Miles of clotheslines brighten the countryside in every yard, outside, over the concrete hut, or in the congregation of dwellings along the river. The rivers and creeks and the same reliable boulders provide bathwater, clothes washing, and refreshment for the children on sultry afternoons. Most dwellings are of concrete blocks, a few stuccoed, with tin or terracotta-covered roofs that slope toward the walls but rarely unite with them, leaving a few inches for the light of dawn to seep in. Homes are open to the sultry summer air and the sounds of children, roosters, trucks, birds, insects, and rainfall. The indoors merges with the outdoors. Like the old American West, the streets come right up to the front of the houses and storefronts, and when trucks go by, they sound like they passed through the living room. Many of the houses have little storefronts that sell a few odds and ends, food, baked goods, tools, and others offer services. Quilali sits in a basin surrounded by a network of creeks and rivers with steep hills on all sides, tall enough and rugged enough that we Michiganders would no doubt call them mountains. Standing in the recently constructed, but yet to be open central plaza of Quilali, one wonders how one would ever escape through this circle of mountains. The same could be said of all the small towns in the Quilali area. It is a difficult, if not hazardous, journey over massively eroded dirt roads by an old school bus, four-wheel drive vehicle, or dirt bike from village to village, particularly during the rainy season. There are days when communities are completely cut off by swollen rivers or washed-out, eroded roads, when buses dangerously pass over bridges with water over their headlights, or cannot make it up San Francisco's steep roads with channels as deep and broad as a good-sized creek. Even if there was the machinery to build and maintain the infrastructure, it would be difficult to get it there, and during the rainy season, their use would be called up daily. Things are just put on hold if it requires travel. Mano para la Salud is not an attempt to change the way of life in this area of Nicaragua. It is not an effort to bring U.S. standard infrastructure to these remote communities. Their projects are more practical, and their scale is suited to the basic needs of the community. In the United States, we have a program called No Child Left Behind. The Mano a Mano para la Salud equivalent in Quilali would be a few teenagers not left behind. They have funded scholarships to universities for several students who have diligently attended English classes, housed in the Smalls house, and taught by Edgar, who lives in the Smalls house with his new wife, who is expecting their first child. Classes include basic conversational English, as well as computer application skills, taught with laptops donated by Michiganders. Neighborhood children frequently drop by the Smalls house, wanting to learn some English, borrow a book to read, practice some computer skills, or just to meet and visit with any visiting guests. Another project is to help and support Casa Materna, a shelter for pregnant women in the last weeks of their pregnancy, so they do not deliver in their huts, often isolated in the mountains without trained assistance.
All these are works. You have sexual relations without contraception, so they do a lot of teaching in the areas of sociology, psychology, talking about family, family violence, talking about early sexual activity and the ramifications of that, talking about contraception, really promoting contraception.
The hazardous road conditions can never promise timely or secure travel to the hospital. Therefore, the goal is to bring the pregnant women to Casa Materna for the last 2 to 4 weeks of pregnancy, where they will be less than a half mile from the hospital in Quilali for their delivery. Casa Materna recently acquired some tables and chairs to rent for community functions to raise operational funds. This temporary home, Casa Materna, provides shelter, education, and nutrition, and access to the hospital in Quilali. However, meeting even the expense of food from week to week is a struggle. $1 per day would feed an expecting mother. So by donating $30, you could feed a young mother during her stay at Casa Materna. Another project they have helped and continue to oversee is Domitila's Coffee Farm. After becoming a widow, Domitila and her 2 sons tried to continue running the coffee farm, but needed help. Mano a Mano made a microloan to Domitila that enabled her to make needed improvements and purchase a coffee roaster.
They make a fire in there, and then the coffee goes in the bin, and it gets turned slowly for a half an hour. There, get in there. Yeah.
Cuando está, se agarra allá y aquí y se vacía aquí.
Llévalo para allá.
Aquí. Entonces él lo empina así para arriba y después el otro le da así. Tiene que ser dos personas.
Shake it.
It was the first bloom on the branch, so it's beginning to ripen. But the harvesting of the crop is October and November, so we've all got a while to mature. Go ahead.
When the last coffee stay in the plant like this coffee, they put this coffee on a cash to get dried with the sun, because when this coffee gets dried, gets the better flavor.
She sells the finished coffee beans to Mano at a price that allows both her a profit and to pay back the loan. Mano then sells the coffee in Michigan, and all the profit made from selling the delicious Nicaraguan coffee beans helps fund the other projects.
It's also been a huge privilege to get to know Domitila and her family. She can accomplish things that committees of Nicaraguans, men and women, can't accomplish. And she has. She's amazing. And we love this family.
Mano a Mano para la Salud is committed to building latrines in the municipality of Quilali. In the absence of latrines, the inhabitants' excrement contaminates the streams and rivers of the area, the same streams and rivers that the inhabitants drink from, wash themselves, and wash their clothes. In a small town close to Quilali, called San Bartolo, they have funded 60 of the 600 latrines needed. Once again, the poor conditions of the roads and remoteness of this village make it difficult to reach. The latrines are built 10 feet deep and are 4 by 4 feet wide. They're lined by non-porous bricks and are built to last 10-15 years. The streams and thus the health of infants and children in particular are protected. Community leaders have given highest priorities to farmers who live near streams. It's important to mention all the materials for the latrines are made in the small town of San Bartolo. The bricks, the concrete blocks, and even the latrine roofs. The families themselves dig the holes and assemble the latrines, avoiding the monsoon rains of summer that could eliminate 2 days of hard labor with one collapsing monsoon. It's impossible to visit Nicaragua and not see how industrious the people are. An example is this man who told us he was repairing his tomato hoe and was using a commonly used machete. Another industrious family is bagging their dried red beans in preparation for sale. Traveling in northern Nicaragua is always uncertain, particularly during the rainy season. Karen and Stephen and their group were detained at this bridge, which was under 3 feet of water. It isn't long before the public bus drivers decide to brave it and take their passengers across the river, while Karen and their van waited several hours. Five hours later, after the water had receded to 2 feet over the bridge, the Mano a Mano para la Salud group of 10 crossed in their van, only with engine turned off in neutral and pushed by 7 Nicaraguans.
¿Cuántas personas se perderán y nadie protestará? ¿Cuántos pequeños van a llorar y nadie lo evitará?
Un poco de amor, no hay más que pedir para vivir. ¿Cuántas miradas se esconderán pretendiendo no saber que al mundo herido hay que ayudar y haz de todos el deber?
Con una oración
y un poco de fe
ayudaré.
Voy a dar todo para ti.
Voy a dar todo para ti.
Ayuda y abrigo, abrazo de amigo, amor para ti.
Vamos, hermanos, que el llanto cruel no nos deja hacer la paz.
Todos unidos de corazón, que la unión nos salva.